Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and welcome to the District 3 Budget Town Hall. My name is Courtney Buniscus, and I serve as one of the Community Engagement Officers for the County Executive's Office. I will be your lovely moderator for this evening, and we are happy to be here, and thank you to Chesapeake High School for hosting us. The Town Hall is part of our annual Budget Town Hall series, and this is your opportunity to let county leaders know what you think should be funded in the county's FY25 budget. This evening, we will hear brief opening remarks from County Executive Stuart Pittman and Council Member Nathan Volke. Then the County Executive and Budget Officer Chris Trumbauer will share a brief presentation about the outlook for our FY25 budget. After the presentation, we will open the floor for public testimony where you will get a chance to share your thoughts. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce the county staff that are here this evening. Looks like we have Mark Wiedemeyer from Inspections and Permits. Is he here? We have Gus Kurtz from the Planning Advisory Board. He's the chair. Brandy Francis, Assistant Director of DOAD. Is she here? And Skip Auld, the CEO of the Library Systems. And now, without further ado, I would like to introduce our County Executive, Stuart Pittman.
I won't say much yet, other than, why is everybody on the left side, Nathan? Has your district moved to the left? Is that what's going on? Everybody's over there. Nobody's over here. I don't know what you're trying to tell us. Oh, okay. Oh, that's the microphone. Okay. So really, I just want to say thank you. I think this is number 4 of 7 districts, and then an 8th one that we do in Spanish later on. Town halls, and they are important. They're very important. Things come to us in these town halls that we have not heard about. Some things come to us in every town hall, but they're always said a little bit differently each time. And what's important is that I hear it. Some of my staff hears it. In fact, some of my staff in real time texts around and gets answers to some of the things that you raise. But that I get to do it with Nathan Volke, your county council representative. And so when we're talking budget, when decisions are starting to get made, we can turn to each other and say, you remember so-and-so said. So we've heard from the same common constituents. You're going to get a little bit of a presentation from Chris Trumbauer, our brilliant budget officer, about how things work and what the fiscal outlook looks like for this year. I can tell you that it's difficult every year, and it's difficult this year. It's going to be a difficult puzzle to put together. So we got a lot of hard work ahead of us, but I'm looking forward to hearing what you got to say. And Nathan, come on up and.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here with you this evening. Thank you for taking time out of your day and your evening to come out here and share information with us. It's helpful. I do appreciate there are a lot of really hardworking county employees who live in Pasadena, and that's a source of pride for me that so many people who work for our county choose to live in this community. So I am especially interested to hear from all of you and to get your perspective. With that, I prefer to sit quietly and hear what you have to say as opposed to talking at you, so let's let it start. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Chris Trumbauer. I'm the County Budget Officer. This is my 4th one. I tend to talk faster and louder in each one, so we're going to go quick, and stop me if you need me to slow down. The first slide, if we're advancing, this is the County Exec's budget message, which you can find on the website, and you'll hear more from him later, so we're going to skip ahead. Second slide, this is important. This is where we are in the budget timeline. Some people think budget season is only a couple months a year. I can tell you it starts in September, and it goes pretty much until July, so it's almost all year. But right now, this is an important time because no decisions have been made yet. So it's important for the county executive to have these meetings now because we want to hear your input before any budget decisions are made. You can see up there on the timeline that right now we're just near the end of January, so we're getting our departmental submissions ready to be vetted and to introduce to the county exec and his team to go through and make decisions in February, March, and April. And then we will introduce the proposed budget on May 1st to the county council. They have 45 days to deliberate, amend, and hopefully pass a budget by June 15th, and then it becomes effective July 1. I know what you're thinking. Hey, Chris, where's all the money come from? Well, here you go. This is a graph of our revenue sources. Now, what you'll probably notice is there's two that are much larger than all the rest. That's property taxes and local income taxes. So combined, that's more than 3/4 of our entire revenue each year. Those are the important revenue sources for the county that make us able to do all the programs and services that we offer. There's other components as well. You can see there's recordation and transfer tax. I'll talk about that in a minute. State shared revenue is the funds that we get from our friends at the state, licensing and permits, and we get a little bit of investment income each year as well. On the other side of the ledger sheet is where does all that money go? If you said Board of Education, you were half right, because that's where half of all our money goes. Over $1 billion in the current year budget out of our total $2.1 billion. Then you have our other component units like public safety and general government, and then our friends in the community college, library, and judicial. You can see how they break down there, but the big bar is the K through 12 public education. Here's a little bit more detail on that. So we actually just write one giant check to them this year of about $881.5 million. That goes to the Board of Ed, and then they control how that money is spent. They have a certain level of autonomy there, but then the county puts in other funding to support that as well. So we pay for debt service, which is the interest on their bonds that do the school construction projects. We pay for school health officers, school safety officers, and retiree health care. So all told, that is over $1 billion to the school system in current year budget. So what else is in the budget? Lots of good stuff this year. First of all, we were able to keep income tax rates the same or lower for more than 98% of our filers, so that's something to be proud of. We were able to increase the starting teacher salary by $8,000, and that dramatically reduced our vacancies for classroom teachers. We still have some vacancies, but it's about half of what it was last year, which is great. And then we were able to contribute the maximum amount to our rainy day fund, which is a county savings account. Essentially, that's money we hold in reserve for when things go badly. We'll have a little bit of money to deploy so we don't have to do layoffs or stop services. And then we established a revenue stream for the Affordable Housing Trust. If you're paying attention to the news, you're hearing a lot about housing, and the county executive, that's an important priority for him. And now we have a dedicated revenue stream that goes into the Affordable Housing Trust, which is then able to be spent on housing units for people that make modest incomes. And then finally, this is the last but not least bullet on the slide. For the first time in county history, we received the AAA bond rating from all three bond rating agencies, giving us the gold stamp of approval that the county is a good investment and that we are a secure investment. So that's a good feather in our cap. All right, so here's a little comparison, a little sibling rivalry, if you will, with our other jurisdictions. So this is showing our property tax rate, and we are the gold bar that's kind of in the middle there. So everyone to the left of us, those are our friends in Montgomery County, Dorchester County, Baltimore City. Anybody on the left, they're paying a higher property tax rate than you are in Anne Arundel County. That's a good thing. We like to be lower than our neighbors, but you can see most of the larger counties are over $1. Our friends in Baltimore City are paying over $2.20. This is per $100 of assessed value. So we're the 10th lowest in the state at this point out of 24 counties. The next slide will show you the income tax comparison. We're all the way over towards the right of the slide, which means everyone over to the left is paying higher income tax rate than you are. This one is a little bit more complex because starting a couple years ago, we introduced something called the progressive taxing scale, and that meant that you would pay a different tax rate depending on how much income you earn. So the majority of Anne Arundel County filers, in fact, more than 98%, are going to pay either 2.81%, or if you make less than $50,000 as a single filer, or I think it's 75 as a joint filer, you're going to pay a lower rate of 2.7%. Those are the little dotted lines on there. Now, if you are among the higher income earners, if as an individual taxpayer you are making more than $400,000 of gross income, or sorry, adjusted income, then you're going to pay the 3.2% rate that most of our neighbors are. But everybody that makes below that is paying a lesser rate. All right, next graph. This is showing how we've been able to increase our rainy day fund over time. You can see in the last 5 years, since County Executive Pittman and Councilmember Volke have been in office, that has dramatically increased as we've increased our reserves. The blue line there is the current level, and the orange bars are what the maximum is to be allowed. And so you can see for the last 6 or 7 years, we've been at the maximum allowable rate, which is good news for the county fiscal foundation. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to the county executive to talk through a few of the investments in the current year budget, and then I'll wrap up with a couple slides at the end.
All right, so you can see from the first slide that Chris, for some reason, just skipped over the budget message. Just kidding, Chris. Basically, it brags about the great investments that we've made in the first 5 years, that we have taken a county that I believe was underinvested in many areas and increased that investment while being fiscally responsible with the AAA bond rating, and that we want to continue that work even though we're in a difficult time with the fiscal cliff, the end of a lot of the federal funding that counties and states have been relying on lately. We were smart and we did not use that money for recurring expenses. We used it for one-time expenses, but it's still making an impact. So I'm going to go through just a few quick categories of areas of spending that we've increased that I'm quite proud of. First, in public safety, the increase line, it goes back to 2016. When I came into office was the change in administration in the middle there. On the green dotted line is the county's operating expenses overall combined, and you can see it goes up fairly gradually. Before our administration, police and fire, the red and the blue, you can guess which is which, we're below the actual, we're increasing more slowly than the county budget. But then police and fire shot up after we came in and realized that we had a real problem. And we're continuing to work on that problem. And I'll say that the department heads come in with their supplemental budget requests. That part of the process is every department comes in, including police and fire, and we look at those, and then we put our budget together and take it to the council. But that's what's been happening there, and we're proud of that. Next slide. We are also proud that in education, the increase has been pretty significant. These bars show maintenance of effort, which is a state formula that's how much we have to provide each year for education so that we're not decreasing per pupil. And that change of administration, it jumped up. So we were paying over $40 million above the required maintenance of effort in our first year. And then COVID came and we were tightening our belt. Everybody thought the economy was going to really collapse. Fortunately, it did not, and we came back with our budgeting. In the last 2 years, we've been at $50 million over maintenance of effort. I will warn you that the Board of Education is asking us for $80 million or so over last year, so it's not going to be possible to do that, but that's kind of a comparison to what we've been doing, major investments. The rec and parks is also something I'm very proud of. People tell me some people moved to Jessup on the western edge of Anne Arundel County, right next to Howard County, so that they can use their really awesome parks. And we've actually looked at our parks spending compared to other jurisdictions around the country, and it is quite low. And when you invest in parks, I think you improve the quality of people's lives, and you create something with the infrastructure in those parks that lasts for many generations. And so we have been able to increase the number of capital projects. So those numbers where it was 39, 42, and then it jumped up to 50 and a little bit above has been a big increase. So having 50 capital projects going on at the same time is a huge amount of work. There's a huge amount of public engagement in that process as well that some of you have been participating in, but we think it pays off. And then the dollar figures are quite high as well, close to $100 million in the capital budget for parks. Again, I think it improves our health, gets us outside, makes us healthy, and makes our county the best place for all, right? So then the next slide is an area where the county was not investing and didn't really see it as a county responsibility for many years, depended on federal funds and some state funds, but not much from the county. When we came in, we started to do a little bit more. We saw that there was a shortage of housing, especially affordable housing for our workforce, started to do some rental assistance and things in the first few years, increased making it possible to help get some projects over the finish line that were workforce housing. But then you can see a big jump. It jumps up by about $10 million. And that's when we created the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, put in $10 million of federal funds. And that money is controlled by Arundel Community Development Services, and it is everything from mortgage assistance, down payment, and closing costs for first-time home buyers to rental assistance to helping to construct housing that is affordable for our workforce. And we now have a dedicated revenue source for that from the real estate transfer tax on properties that sell for over $1 million. And we expect that to eventually be about $10 million a year. It's about $7 million now because not much is selling. Next slide. So here are just some of the things in the district. The most fun and interesting ones are always rec and parks. And I remember Nathan saying to me early on when we were at a ribbon cutting, I think it might have been Tickneck Park, welcome to the land of all the county's park spending. And I can say that this district has gotten a lot of good money for good parks. You have some wonderful parks in it, and it's continued. So there's work going on at Tanyard Springs and Lake Waterford. There's actually going to be a bubble with tennis courts in it at Lake Waterford, the first indoor tennis in the county. A lot of other great things. Fort Smallwood, you can see the list here. So I know that some of you are here to talk about capital projects, and we can get you more information at the end if you'd like. But those are important. I know some of the sidewalks in particular, and some of those projects are underway. So I will stop on that, pass it back over to Chris, who will give you just a taste of what the future might look like.
All right, so we talked a lot about the current year budget, and now we're going to look in our crystal ball and see what we think the future holds. So in order to do that, the first thing we do is we kind of look at the current year budget and how it's coming in so far, right? So we're in January of fiscal year 24. We're about a little bit more than halfway through. How are things looking? Well, I can tell you income tax and property tax revenues are coming in pretty much as we expected. Income tax might even be a little bit, hopefully a little bit better than what we projected, but it's too early to say that for sure. But on the downside, recordation and transfer tax. So this is every time there's a real estate transaction, the county gets just a little taste of that, right? Well, I think everybody knows what the current mortgage rate environment is. And if you're out there house shopping right now, I'm sorry for you, but if you locked in a few years ago a 2% mortgage, you know you're holding on to that for a long time, right? A lot of other people are. That means, guess what? There's not a lot of activity. Well, because the county gets a taste of that, when activity goes down, our recordation and transfer tax revenue goes down as well. I'll show you a slide in a second that does a little bit more detail on that. But if we look ahead towards fiscal year 25, I think given the current kind of economic climate, the economy is holding on pretty well. They seem to be, the macroeconomists out there on all the cable channels seem to be downplaying the chances of a recession, but growth is moderating, it is slowing, and that's by design. That's why the Fed reduces or raises interest rates. And so there will be some slowed growth, but we hope that it will stay at least consistently. But we do think that the recordation and transfer tax will stay depressed for at least a little bit longer. And I'm going to show you this in visual form next. So what you're going to look at in a second, hopefully, is this is recordation and transfer revenue that the county receives over time. Now, if you look back to the left side, this is the big housing bubble. Anybody remember that, 15, 20 years ago, right? Like housing went whoa, 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 and then it went crashing down. So after that, it settled out around the $50 million line, and then it started kind of slowly, incrementally growing, and we consider that's the natural growth of the market, and that's kind of what we budgeted for, right? So that red dotted line is what we would expect for natural annual growth of recordation and transfer tax. A few years back, you see, this big spike again, climbing the mountain, it's going really far up. Well, we recognize that because we saw it 15 years ago, and we're like, okay, this isn't sustainable. It's not going to stay that way, so we're not going to budget to it, but it was nice to have that money. And so then you see on the other side of the mountain, in the last couple of years, it's plummeted. It started to come down. That happens to correspond with the mortgage interest rates going up to 7 or 8%, right? So what we're at now is in fiscal year 24, we're looking at about $100 million of revenue. If you look back 2 years ago to fiscal year 22, we got $198 million of revenue. That's a $98 million, almost $100 million difference over 2 years, okay? And that money matters because, as you heard from the county exec, our school superintendent's budget request was $80 million more. So if we had that $100 million back, we'd be able to give them everything they asked for. But unfortunately, we're not in that state of play at the moment. All right, so next slide. This is going to talk a little bit more about our fiscal expectations for expenditures. This is what we spend money on. So there's some things, we call them in budget world non-discretionary. These are built-in increases or things that we have to pay for. We don't have a choice. It's like when our debt service increases or our health insurance or pension contributions. We negotiate our employee pay with the bargaining units. Those are locked in. So all of that is non-discretionary. And then we have our operational increases. These are things that departments may request or the Board of Ed has asked for that we have to match up our available resources to those requests. So these are things like our community college and libraries. Our departments ask for funding to do expanded programs or new initiatives. And then this year, we're transitioning away from those federal recovery dollars that all local jurisdictions got for the pandemic. That's going away. So then some of those programs are really great, and we want to continue them, but we're going to have to find other funding sources for those. So those are kind of some of the things that we need to consider when we're putting the budget together. And this next slide is going to give you a window into what that looks like. So it's very small print. I don't expect you to see this, but for the sake of the argument, up at the very top of the box on the right, those are all those non-discretionary built-in increases, okay? And so we have to assign eventually numbers to each of those, add them all up, and that's something that we are going to have to pay for. Now, right now, the budget office is projecting, if things go the way that we think, somewhere in the neighborhood of $80 to $90 million is what we would call our incremental recurring revenue. That's essentially more money that we'll get this year than last year, okay? And that's money we can use to do new things or pay for things that got more expensive, right? So all those non-discretionary things, we add those up, and just ballpark for the sake of this exercise, let's say that's about $25 million. All right, well, if we're going to start with $85 million, we take 25 right off the top, now we're down to what? 60. Good, Courtney. So then you're like, okay, let's add up all the pay packages for our employees. We don't know what that is yet because we're still bargaining, but I can tell you last year, all told, it was about $27 million, but that was a much higher inflation environment. It should be a little bit less, but just again, for the sake of this, let's say 20 million. So that we start now, we had 60, we take 20. Now we're down to 40, right? Okay. Well, look at all the things that we have to do with that $40 million. Our libraries, our Board of Ed, our community college, our departmental base increases, and supplemental requests to do new things. To put it in perspective, as the county executive mentioned earlier, the superintendent's request for public education in and of itself was $80 million. That's twice what we have place marked in this exercise. Now, this is a grand simplification of everything, but it's just to demonstrate that we're in a bit of a pinch. We're going to continue watching the economic forecasts and our revenue streams. Hopefully things get a little bit better and we can find some savings, and that opens up some flexibility here. But as it looks now, it's going to be a relatively tight year. So just to summarize on the next slide, these are some of the pressures on the budget as we look to put it together in the next couple months. We have continued inflation, which is a little higher than normal. It's much better than the last couple years, but it's still a little elevated. We have our incremental revenue is shrinking because of that record and foundation and transfer tax gap, right? That revenue source is depressed. That is funding that we could really use. But it is not there at the moment. And then this is all happening at the same time that some of the state revenue sources are decreasing. So we're getting less incremental funding for education. We're getting less incremental funding for things like transportation projects. And to top it all off, we're also losing our federal recovery funds because those have to be spent by the end of this calendar year. So those are some of the things that are turning my beard from black to gray. but we will, as the county exec said, arrange all the puzzle pieces, do the best we can, and put together a strong budget for the residents of this county. I'm going to close with a couple slides where you can get more information. The first is on Open Arundel, which is just aacounty.org/Open Arundel. You can dig in and see all kinds of things on budget information, but other data sources of the county as well. For those of you that really want to dive deep, our next thing is called the Budget Data and Development Explorer, which we've nicknamed the Budget Buddy, and you can actually drill down into departmental budgets and see what they spend on different components. So if you're a numbers geek like me, you can have fun with that. And when I say fun, I use air quotes. And then the next slide, this is where you can get information on this presentation or see when the other town halls are scheduled. It's aacounty.org/your budget. You can also read, once again, the county executive's budget message there. And then finally, I want to remind you, if you don't speak tonight, you can still email us. If you are one of the 13 people watching at home, you can email us. If you want to get home and tell your friends and neighbors that they should talk about the budget, they can email us. It's budget-comments@aacounty.org. Each and every email is read, cataloged. The county executive and his team get a giant report at the end of this process that shows what everyone was saying. And I can tell you, as the budget officer, that makes a difference. I have seen decisions go one way or the other because of public input that is on that report. So it is time well spent. And that is the end of me talking to you, and now you get to talk to Courtney.
Thank you, Chris. Now is the time for the public testimony portion of the evening, where we get a chance to hear from you. This is your chance to let your county leaders know what you would like funded in the FY25 budget. Each speaker will have 2 minutes to give their testimony. You will see a timer on the screen to help you keep track of time, and please know also, I will kindly remind you as well. For the sake of time, the county executive and the council member won't respond to every comment, but please know that they are listening and taking notes and will share their thoughts after we have heard from everyone. So please stick around to the end to hear their responses. I will start with the list of residents who indicated that they would like to speak when they checked in this evening, starting with the residents of District 3 and then moving to anyone else who signed up to speak. I will call a few names at a time. When I call your name, please line up in the order behind the microphone, which is right over here to the left. After we have gotten through the list of people who signed up to speak, we will open the floor to anyone else who would like to share their budget request. Please know, if we don't have time to hear from you tonight, or if you think of something else you would like to share, please email your request to budget-comments@aacounty.org. I will now call several of you. Please line up behind the microphone in order to speak. Furthermore, please speak directly into the microphone so that everyone can hear you clearly, and please state your name before you begin. Let me find my list of names here, covered up. All right, I'm going to call 5 at a time. We have Sonia Goldwyn, Thomas Martson, Joseph Sapp, Gordon Clifford, and Brenda Maltese.
Ready? Okay. Good evening. My name is Sonia Gladwin. I'm a resident of District 3, and I'm here as representing the Annapolis Symphony Orchestra as a board member, as well as Anne Arundel Community College as an employee. What you just heard is a clip of the Annapolis Symphony Orchestra's educational performance for county students in partnership with the Goddard Space Center just a few weeks ago. It was an incredible musical experience for our county students, exposing them to both the arts and the sciences. I'm here on behalf of the ASO to thank you, County Executive Pittman and Councilman Volk, for your annual support of the ASO's Pops in the Park concerts. We're asking the county to support the ASO's free concert series again this year at a rate of $50,000, a $10,000 increase from the last 2 years. We continue to seek private sponsors to cover the over $60,000 cost of production for the 2 concerts. Thank you for considering the request, and the ASO looks forward to welcoming everyone to the Pops in the Park concerts this coming Labor Day weekend. I'm also here this evening as an alumni of Anne Arundel Community College and as a current employee and faculty member to bring your attention to the vital role that the college plays in shaping the future of our county residents and the community leaders. The governor has suggested drastic cuts to the community college at the state level. As you deliberate on the budget for this fiscal year, I urge you to allocate funds to support and enhance the programs at AACC. AACC is a premier learning institution that is consistently acknowledged as one of the top community colleges in the nation. However, the current economic climate, as you've already stated, is going to give us budget restraints threatening the continued success of the college. As part of my family's livelihood and vitality and a resource for county residents, I urge you to fully support AACC's requests during this budgetary process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, elected officials. My name is Thomas Marston. I'm a resident of District 3. Last Tuesday, I spoke about affordable housing and advocated that citizens of the county can support this through development of ADUs. Tonight, I'm going to introduce an idea where citizens, residents, can support your desire to innovate how we manage the green space, how we manage stormwater practices. Let's consider the stormwater management practices where you provide tax credits to county property owners. In my case, this 10% credit over a 5-year period would net me $42 per year for my $2,100 cisterns I installed. My infiltration trench would be $6 over 5 years. These are insignificant amounts of money, not worth the time, I believe, for most people, but I'm committed to doing the right thing towards the plant. My plants are the significant funding item that is not included, and I believe this needs to change. Your DIY practices do not include vegetation management, either removing invasive species or installing the right plants into or around cisterns, infiltration trenches, and the like. Let's consider, the 2 counties that are near you, Prince George's County and Montgomery County, have substantially better programs. I've outlined this to Mr. Volke a few years ago, so I'm bringing it up again to see how we can get some movement on this. The 2 counties offer greater monies. They also focus on vegetation management. I believe you need to organize a new way to incentivize the community to act on stormwater practices and focus on vegetation management at the same time. Thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name is Rob Sapp. I also live in District 3, and I represent District 3 on the Anne Arundel County Library System Board of Trustees. I'm here tonight to speak about, in support of the library's budget, and specifically to ask for your consideration of our top request, the final installment of the market rate adjustment for our dedicated library staff. Free job training, tutoring, kindergarten readiness, digital access, safe places for kids and teens, a collection of over 1 million books and other media, help for people in crisis, gun locks, COVID test kits, tax help, library by mail, social work. These are all services that are offered by today's library in Anne Arundel County. And at the core of all of these is, and the foundation, is our staff. Our staff makes this happen. They're the interface between these services and our patrons. What we're looking for is based on a compensation study that clearly shows that most library staff are underpaid compared to our peers in the state. More than 3/4 of the staff aren't at levels similar to peers in nearby Baltimore County or PG County. Some are underpaid by thousands of dollars and have been for years. This council and the county executive has made extensive headway last year. We can finish that this year. Thank you so much.
My name is Gordon Clifford. I'm also in District 3, and I spoke to Councilman Volke about this, and he suggested I come to the meeting. I live down on a peninsula known as Indian Village. We have one way in, one way out through Magathy Beach Road. The road is deteriorating to the point where it's getting bumps, it's cracking up, and for safety purposes, if somebody has to get in and out of there fast with an ambulance, they're going to get bounced all over the place. We have other streets in our community, Beach Avenue, that the asphalt is deteriorating to the point that it hasn't been paved in years. We have one road, Creek, half of it's still gravel. Plus we have other areas down there that the county really needs to come down, and it needs to be repaved and or resealed in areas. And we would ask that this would be put into next year's budget to try to get this going. So any help that you could give us in trying to arrange this would be greatly appreciated. I thank you.
Okay, I'm going to call the next set of names. Thank you so much for, I'm so sorry. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was holding my son out back. So, good evening. My name is Brendan Maltese, and I'm here out of habit at this point. I've been to all of these. I'd like to make this short and hope that brevity is worth bonus points. First, please fund the school budget. We made good progress last year, but still have a long way to go to make sure we're recruiting and retaining teachers to fill over 100 vacancies that still exist today. Yeah, don't touch that. Second, on behalf of my neighbors at Creekstone Village, please make sure the Jumpers Hole Road project is kept on track. I want to be able to take my son on the B&A trail safely from my house by the time he's confident riding a bike. So we're coming up on that. And third, please take a look at the possibility of making the Wishing Rock a small public park for rock climbing access. The climbing community is willing to do restoration and conservation work that would be needed to open the site for limited public access. And I think it'd be an interesting amenity to have. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to call the next set of names. You guys are doing a great job on the timing, so let's keep that rolling. I have a Mr. Tim Swan, Christy Katash, excuse me if I mispronounced that, Erica McFarland, John Spencer. I have a Thomas Martin again. Were you on there twice? Or okay, I'll take you off for that one. And Jessica Shiflett. And I'll call Lyda Davis too.
Good evening, County Executive Pittman, Councilman Volke. Thank you for holding this forum to hear your constituents' views on budget matters. For the record, my name is Tim Swan, a 30-year resident in Pasadena, and both an educator and coach at Northeast High School. Go Eagles. My big ask tonight is to do what you can do to support the proposed budget, the education budget for the coming year. Now, Dr. Bedell has indicated that his current request contains the smallest hike in 9 years. Yes. That may be due in some part to his bargaining team's recent negotiations to actually increase our employee health insurance by 7%. Now, to me, this is a step backward. By proposing a funding drop in, or a drop in funding health insurance at the current levels, AACPS is actually chipping away at one of the big drawing cards that we have that makes our system reasonably competitive for teachers, which we know we still have a shortage, as Brendan mentioned. So please consider addressing this with Dr. Bedell and the board members with that particular issue. Now, at last, I would be remiss as a unified sports coach to not mention the lack of courts in Anne Arundel County parks. Now, you're probably saying, courts, what's he talking about? Tennis courts, basketball courts, pickleball courts? No. I'm also at a recreation park forum and in writing. Gentlemen, please take a look at this relatively low-cost opportunity to provide inclusiveness for all AA County residents. Hey, and Lake Waterford Park would be a great place, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you again for having this forum. My name is Christy Keisch, and I've lived in Anne Arundel County for 50 years. I'm here tonight to talk about school health services, which, if anybody doesn't know, it's the nurses, LPNs, health assistants that all work in the schools and are the first line of your kids when they're sick or need medical care. Even before the paramedics, they're there with your kids. We talked last year a little bit about their pay, and you did bring it up a little bit, but I want you to know, Mr. Pittman, that 117 school health service people have quit this year. Last year it was 101. That's 1/3 of our staff. Do you know how much it costs you to train that staff just to start their job? $6,000 to $8,000 a person. If we do the math, we're talking $600,000 to $800,000 just in training of people who are turning around. We need to do something about the employees and how they're treated, what their contracts are, get them the raise and the benefits they need so that we can keep people in Anne Arundel County. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Erica McFarland, and I am a resident of District 3 as well as a parent. And I'm here to thank you for your support of public education. And I'm hoping that you will continue to fund to the greatest extent our schools. Our children really are our future, and they're supported by the best educators. And we need to retain them. We need to bring in more. We really need to support our schools and the staff. Also, our libraries, which also support our students. Our children really are our future, and we need to invest in them through the people who are supporting them. And lastly, I would hope that we keep going back to affordable housing as well. We need to make sure that when we are working in this district, we can live in this district. And unfortunately, this county is very expensive to live in, and there's people that would like to work here that just can't afford to live here. So I just ask that you keep that in mind as well. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Spencer, and I live. I'm sorry, I need to raise this up, right? Hi, I'm John Spencer, and I live. Technical problem with the old man. I'm John Spencer of the High Point community. Thank you, Mr. Pittman, Councilman Volke, and Ms. Henry for your continuing support for the completion of the Duval Highway sidewalk. I noticed you did have it on one of your earlier slides. High Point Elementary is located in the Duval corridor. I've written to several county agencies about the traffic chaos within just a few feet of the narrow entrance to the school bus drop-off lot. Included are illegal U-turns, parents teaching their kids to jaywalk, blocking buses from the bus lot, and other illegally stopping and parking. Kudos to Public Works for quickly coming out, observing the situation, and then adding new signage. However, I have not heard from other departments in the county. I appreciate that enforcement is not politically desirable solution, and education of parents is low on the effectiveness scale, but still. On another topic, the proposed Region 4 Stakeholder Advisory Committee will include a strategy proposing a study of the impact of various governmental requirements on the cost of housing units. In a recent nationwide study, the National Association of Home Builders estimated that government regulations increase the cost of single-family house by $94,000. The likelihood is much higher in Anne Arundel County. In the name of increasing the availability of affordable housing, existing and proposed legislation would allow exempting certain developments from the educational APF requirement. This seems to say that affordable housing means crowded schools for our lower income residents is okay. So let's find a better way and fund this study. Thank you.
Okay, now I'm short. I'm like 3 feet shorter than him. Hi, I'm Jessica Shiflett. I have been a resident of Pasadena for the last 20 years, and I'm here today to talk about school health services. So school health services, they manage not only the illnesses that happen at school and the injuries, but they also manage your complex medical needs, your asthma, your diabetes, multiple health conditions. We have students that are on breathing tubes at school. We have students on ventilators. It's a very complex care process, so it's not always the easiest thing, and they are not very well compensated for that. The pay increases that have happened in recent years have helped, but there are no merit or longevity increases. There are no paid holidays for school health employees. They get 8 days off per school year with 1 extra day every 5 years, and they have no retirement benefits. And I'd like to remind you, when COVID happened, it was school health that took care of this county. We were the one manning the vaccine clinics, the testing centers, and doing all the contact tracing. So I think they need to be fairly compensated for that. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Linda Davis, and I'm from District 1, but I can't make it tomorrow night, so I'm here. I grew up here, went to school here. So I would like you to create a budget for the people and not the police. I see that the budget for public safety is 4 times bigger than for human services. I grew up in Pasadena and never saw the police. I currently live in Linthicum and never see the police. Why? I believe it is because my predominantly white, middle-class neighborhood has everything we need to thrive. Access to good schools, healthy food, affordable housing, recreation areas, health care, thriving jobs, transportation, etc. Increasing the budget for the police will not give people what they need to thrive. Creating a budget that ensures people have what they need to thrive, such as what I mentioned before, will alleviate the stressors that can contribute to crime. This would eventually lead to a decreased need for the police. So I ask you to create a budget for the people, not the police. Thank you.
Thank you. My next set of people are Katie Houston, John Spencer. Oh, you did? Okay. So I'm there twice. Debbie Kokovinas, Jared Kovisky, Paula Gentile, Hector Rodriguez,
Hi, my name is Katie Houston. I'm an Anne Arundel County resident and taxpayer. I want to start by saying school health is an amazing organization. And I really don't like public speaking, so. In October of 2021, my 5-year-old was diagnosed with cancer. Fast forward 2 years, chemo, radiation, many long hospitalizations, and 12 major surgeries later, she's back there doing amazing. I learned during that time, county contractual employees do not qualify for FSA, HSA to help with medical costs. Dependent care to help with daycare isn't an option. The pre-tax deductions would help put more money in employees' pockets. Paid holidays, paid snow days, a sick bank and/or leave donation are also not offered. School health service county contractual employees only get 8 total paid days per year. After those 8 days, I had to choose between working to feed my family and pay my bills or be at the hospital caring for my child who just needed her mom. It's a horrible feeling knowing your child's going into another major unplanned surgery and you can't afford to miss work. I never want to tell someone I have no resources for them. The men and women in school health need better benefits. They are taking care of our children. The care they provide could vary from kids with an illness or injury to kids with chronic critical health conditions. If it wasn't for school health employees, these children might not be able to attend school. We need to take care of school health service contractual employees. School health needs equitable benefits and pay. If we don't, we are going to keep losing valuable employees to counties that offer these benefits. I'm not saying this tonight for sympathy. I'm saying this tonight for y'all to put employees first. My situation was a child with cancer. Tomorrow it could be an employee who was injured from a major car wreck, a surgery that can't wait until summer, or even being diagnosed with cancer themselves. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Debbie Kokovinas, and I'm a resident of District 3. I'm a concerned, and I work for school health as well. I'm a concerned Anne Arundel County health assistant who works for school health. We have 56% staff turnover rate. The county is unable to retain staff due to the pay and benefits not being equitable or livable. Even though Anne Arundel County prides itself in being equitable, many staff are leaving for similar jobs in other counties that provide better pay and benefits and have higher staff retention. Our county has some of the best health assistants, and we are forced to get a second job or have our spouses work a night job while they're home with the kids at night. Some of the health assistants this year have even been homeless. We are not paid for holidays, breaks from school, snow days, though the rest of the staff within our school is paid for these days. Some of those breaks are long, cutting our paycheck in half or less than half when bills are still due, like over Thanksgiving and Christmas. We don't receive retirement, and we're only allotted 8 days of sick leave over a 10-month school year that we work. Most of us are burnt out through this, and before the school year is over, we have run out of our sick leave. In my health room, I see an average of 40 to 60 students a day. That averages 1 student every 7.5 minutes, depending on the school. In most elementary schools, the nurse is shared. So the health assistant, being myself, I'm there by myself most days without a break. The health room isn't just Band-Aids and temperatures anymore. We're administrating daily medications, as needed medications for asthma, allergies, seizures, and emergencies we might administer, some other things. I just wanted to say, we are only making $19.76 an hour, $19.76 an hour, or $24,000 a year. I'd like it to be considered that we get a little bit of a pay raise just to, be able to support, just go to the grocery store, basically. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Jared Krzyzewski. I'm a resident of Creekstone Village, and I'm here tonight to advocate for the accelerated Jumpers Hole project. It's overdue. The road is literally crumbling, and this is a major thoroughfare between 2 different sections of the county, divided by 2 different highways that overpass the road. People are walking this path on a daily basis, and the studies that have been done don't account for it. The studies that are done are only during rush hour. Let me correct that. The studies that are done are only when vehicular traffic increases. The people who are walking this road are leaving at the same time that I am when I'm going skiing. They're going home at the same time that I'm returning from work after closing the ski resort. These people have already gotten to their jobs by the time I'm leaving for my day job. These people have been overlooked. These are the people who you're trying to build affordable housing for. We need this road to be safe for them to walk because the nearest crossings of these highways are over a mile away. This road being improved would allow people in my community and my surrounding communities to be able to get to activities that are a mile away. I have multiple stores that I can't safely walk to without literally dodging traffic. This improvement is going to mean access, not just to people my age, but to other people. At the District 5 meeting that you guys had last week, you had an octogenarian advocating for bicycle access. You had a teenager advocating for public transit. This project would do both. Thank you.
Okay.
Paula Maria Gentile. I give my 2 minutes to Hector Rodriguez.
Thank you, Paula. Good evening, everyone. My name is Hector Rodriguez, and I'm a resident here in Anne Arundel County. Mr. Pittman and crew, I would like to preface my comments with these statements. I am sure you and your team are very proud of your accomplishments over the past few years. You likely all consider yourselves hardworking public servants who are all trying to make our county and this country a better place. Historically, most, but not all, enter public service because they have a calling for a greater good. I think the majority here today would acknowledge that your willingness to carry on the fight is, if nothing else, appreciated for the effort that it is. With that said, you are failing this county on many fronts, and the greatest of which is your county's education and public safety. Over the course of the next 90 seconds, I'm going to do you a favor and not ask you for any more money for one or any particular cause. On the contrary, I am going to offer up a solution to solve two of your most heavy problem sets. Fund your police department to the levels in which it was promised at the beginning of your term. Last week, I watched you try to wiggle your way out of why you were unable to meet this goal. As a senior leader, you, of all people, should know that excuses don't matter. Results do. You yourself have mentioned countless times that your police department has been exceptional and has become a role model for other departments, not only across the state, but even the country in some aspects. They have been able to achieve this prestige even with the lack of competitive pay and the reduction in the recruitment and manning that has taken place under your watch. They are by far the best leaders of our county, or our county has to offer at this moment in time. Can you say that about your education system here in Anne Arundel County? A couple of weeks ago, there was a slide presentation that was given to the residents of this county. It was roses and kittens according to the slide deck presented. Unfortunately, for the Board of Education, I performed data analysis as a day job, and the reality is, when it comes to the numbers, it doesn't matter what color, shade of lipstick you put on it, a pig is still a pig. Your Board of Education is not getting results. I only seem to get the following types of responses when I speak with the leadership. That's not my job, Mr. Rodriguez. You'll have to talk to my boss. Or this is not my lane. Let me forward you to the person you just spoke to yesterday who directed you to me. Or my favorite one, which I have encountered multiple times at this point, Mr. Rodriguez, I completely understand and agree with you 100%. And off the record, I wish I could help you, but I can't given the politics of the situation. I really hope you know we're on the same team here. What I have come to realize is that they are leaders who have been hamstrung by your politics. They are afraid to make tough leadership decisions because they know Stuart Pittman does not have their back. This is a cascading leadership failure that starts with you. Stop placating to the teachers' unions and hold the line. Right now, the tail is wagging the dog, and no longer are the constituents of this county oblivious to it. Make the Board of Education.
Mr. Rodriguez, if you could please conclude your remarks.
I have 4 minutes, thank you. Make the Board of Education show you results and stop allowing them to dictate the terms. There are some really great teachers out here who deserve more than a pay raise, but like any profession, a few self-centered and self-righteous ones are ruining it for all. I suggest that until the Board of Education testing results show an increase, then the Board of Education budget allocations show a decrease. However, like any true leader, I am sure that those at the top would suggest they bear the brunt of the reduction, not so much the teachers. These issues did in fact stem while under their watch. If your subordinate leaders have not come to you about any of what I have just mentioned, then in fact they are part of the problem. They are either unaware of the social and political environment and therefore unfit for the positions, or they are simply too cowardly to bring it up. Either way, I'm sure Dr. Bedell would have no problem taking the reduction himself. He is making nearly $500,000 this year. According to his January 5th social media video, we all have to be selfless in recognizing the greater good. I'm sure most constituents would agree. How about your senior manager for school support and equitable practices within AACPS? Last time I checked, Caucasian students were graduating at a 66% clip compared to 33% for African American and 22% for Hispanics, respectively. That's a whole lot of support and equity not taking place. Seems to me you could probably save our county about $100,000 right there alone. I will conclude with this. Stop playing politics and make the tough decisions like leaders are supposed to do. Give your Board of Education and its leaders the breathing room needed to show you results. Until then, you can only be seen as a responsible party for the failures that are taking place in these two arenas. I'm running out of time, but for the record, parks don't matter without safety provided to our children by our officers and the discipline instilled by strong leaders within our schools to maintain them. Please reprioritize.
Thank you. For the last list of residents that are speaking today, I have Sean Ashworth, Verna Schrock, Sherry Van Alexu, and Joe Adavino.
Good evening. I am a 30-year resident of Pasadena. Thank you this evening, excuse me, County Exec Pittman and Councilmember Volke for giving me this opportunity to speak. Tonight I speak on behalf and in support of Anne Arundel County Food Bank and asking that you put in that $1.5 million to support the work and efforts that they do. I am the nonprofit leader Food for Thought, and I also serve for Holy Temple food pantries and other pantries around the county. Around the county, I do lots of stuff, me and my organization, supporting families, especially when it comes to food insecurity. Anne Arundel County Food Bank is critical. It really disheartens me when I serve and people come and they say, I have to choose, do I pay my electricity bill or do I go food shopping? Do I put gas in my car or do I feed my 6 kids? That is disheartening to hear every single month. Anne Arundel County Food Bank is critical to what we do, especially as it relates to closing the gap in food insecurity across our county. And it is across our county. Probably monthly, we're feeding, thousands of families. Where I am, every single month, there's an additional 20 to 40 families that are coming who need diapers, who need food, who need produce. You all know, you go to the grocery store, produce is expensive. And when I have to hear families say, I have to choose to pay electricity bill or food shopping, it's disheartening. So I come to you respectfully, and I'm really speaking on behalf of the nonprofits and all the organizations who try to close that gap and support food insecurities across our county. Please fund Anne Arundel County Anne Arundel County Food Bank. $1.5 million will help the community, the county, in closing that gap. It will help families. Thank you.
Oh, this is, hey, thank you. Mr. Pittman and Nathan, I met you a couple of years ago at one of our town meetings, and I told you that this is what school health started with. 1991, it was school health for a reason. Dutch Holland got it mandated to make state that nurses are in school. 5 years in, John Gary, they said he couldn't manage money, and he took us out. So what we had under the Board of Education was sick bank, retirement, health insurance, life insurance, $25,000 free, personal days, sick days, cost of living, step increases. There's so much more. jury duty paid, FNL, disability, and now today, I am so proud to say we get health insurance only. A couple personal days does not make it. We have lost 70 people that I know personally that went to Howard County or Board of Ed. Why? Because they got $10 right off the bat. Some nurses got 20, 25. You need to make us county merit or state merit. You need to work on this. You said 4 years ago, oh, I'm shocked. Well, you should be shocked now because, like they said, we lost 56% of our people. And these are professionals. Oh, did I say 32 years? I've paid into the health insurance for county, and I get nothing when I leave here. And I'm the oldest, 75. So, yes, Mr. Pittman, you said, well, you have Medicare. I don't want Medicare and pay Part B because I have good health insurance, but I have zero when I leave here. Thanks.
Hi. My name is Sherry Vane Alexio, and I live in the Creekstone Village townhomes off Jumpers Hole Road, and I'm here to reinforce the need for that traffic project. The stretch from Jumpers Hole Road from Ritchie Highway to Mountain Road is dangerous for drivers and pedestrians. I moved to this community in 2016. I've been an Anne Arundel County resident, but into that community. It became immediately apparent that the intersection at Evening Star and Jumpers Hole was an issue. Not as only hard to turn onto it, but to get into our community. With 3 teenagers and young adults in my home, I was very afraid of an accident. My family had a very frightening experience and near accident on the way to Christmas Eve services December 2021 at that location. There weren't many cars on the road. The 4 of us were in a sedan turning left onto Jumpers Hole. My husband waited, checked both ways, it was all cleared. He pulled into the intersection and suddenly a large pickup truck came speeding around the curve. It would have hit us if my husband had not turned the car sharply into the opposite lane facing oncoming traffic. It could have been a tragedy for us that night. Cars speed along Jumpers Hole Road and there's a bend in the road that is not completely visible for cars. There's a great deal of traffic from Walmart and other stores, and as one of my neighbors spoke about, there's people walking with their groceries. On that road, no sidewalk. And so I'm very afraid that there's going to be a tragedy there one day. Thank you for considering our request.
Good evening, County Exec Pittman and Councilman Volke. As a resident of District 3, my name is Joe Divinola. I'm president of Anne Arundel County Professional Firefighters. Anne Arundel County Fire Department operates in 31 fire stations throughout the county. We meet National Fire Protection Association minimum standards of 4 firefighters on an apparatus in only 5 stations out of 31 stations. This administration, just like 2 previous administrations, had a chance to meet national minimum standards by applying for the SAFER grant through the federal government to increase staffing, but you didn't, just like the previous administrations. Now, the cost to meet minimum standards is much higher. So is the capital budgets, like building new fire stations to replace old decaying buildings. The cost to build new apparatus and the operational budget has just about doubled over the last year. Here we are multiple administrations later, and your professional firefighters are doing more with less. We have close to 51 members right now on injury. Some will never come back on this job. This county has been very lucky not to lose one of our firefighters to a line of duty death. We rely on our brothers and sisters to have our back on every fire, not luck. There is no monetary amount that will replace any of my members or any resident of Anne Arundel County. My members took no days off during storms, the COVID epidemic, or any holidays. We ran close to 100,000 calls last year. We don't work from home. We're in the homes of the residents in their worst time. It's time this administration treats the fire department the way we treat our residents. Be there in our time of need. Our time is now. Thank you.
Okay, now is the time for our list of non-residents. We have a Mark Gass. Excuse me, I'm trying to read the handwriting, so if I don't get it right, Kevin Ford, Justin Doré, Dwayne Rayner, George Davis, and Jan Priest.
Good evening. My name is Mark Ass. I'm the first Vice President of the Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police. Do we have enough cops? Mr. Pittman, that was the title of your weekly newsletter last week. You gave it a direct answer in the message. I'm sorry, you didn't give it a direct answer in the message, but I still think you were pretty clear. The answer is no. We do not have enough cops in Anne Arundel County. We haven't had enough cops since I have worked here. It has always been a struggle. Our workload has skyrocketed. Our population has skyrocketed, but our police staffing has not. We have seen an explosion of development in our county. New shopping centers and residential developments are popping up everywhere. In our police department's eastern and northern district, our officers are desperately holding back the tide of crime from the north. Our police officers have done a tremendous job. Our crime rate is remarkably lower than Baltimore City or Prince George's County, but we are exhausted. After years and years of doing more with fewer officers, we have fallen into crisis-level staffing. Our agency just announced they are redeploying resources out of investigative, support, and community-focused units just so we can answer 911 calls effectively. We have been told time and time again that relief was just over the horizon, that our staffing would improve. It hasn't. And today's police department leaders have been around long enough to know they can't fool us with the line like the last generation did. We have warned everyone for years. It seemed like nobody was listening. We are in a bad place, and without your help, it will get worse before it gets better. We warned everyone years ago because we knew what it takes. It takes years to rebuild the police department staffing. The amount of time, effort, and money that goes into recruiting, hiring, and training a police officer demands that we stay ahead of the curve. But we haven't even stayed even with it. We are far behind the curve. This county has failed to sufficiently invest in its police department for decades. It saved a few tax dollars, but now we are paying the price. It will take a monumental investment to start to dig us out of this hole. We hope that your actions will match the urgency of the problem. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Ford, and I sit on the board of directors for the Anne Arundel County Police Department, Fraternal Order of Police. I would like to share last weekend's highlights from around the county with you. Armed robbery, stabbing, a shooting, another robbery, another shooting, an armed robbery and a shooting, assault with a rifle, robbery, child abuse, and a seizure of 10 grams of heroin and fentanyl, 350 grams of cocaine, 760 grams of cannabis, $1,400 in cash, and a 9mm handgun. This is what our police officers are fighting against. This is what our citizens should not have to fear. Your message last week correctly pointed out that if our police department was staffed at the average national rate, we would have 600 more officers than we would today. We have about 763 today. By the national average, we are 44% understaffed. Our agency estimate is a bit more conservative, estimating we need about 1,150 officers. By that metric, we are 33% understaffed. Use whichever metric you want. It paints a picture of a dangerously understaffed police department. It is a problem you inherited, Mr. Pittman. It is a problem we live with every day. It is our problem to fix together. Let's get to work. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Justin Downey, and I'm a member of FOP Lodge 70 and a lifelong resident of District 3. When I hear the word crisis used today in media and conversation, I'm a little skeptical because it seems like everything is being called a crisis. Mr. Pittman, in your recent newsletter, you mentioned that we're authorized for 808 officers, and we're currently staffed at 766. When we take into account the non-operational and supervisors, the more realistic number is 598. Less than 600 officers for 590,000 residents of this county. Yes, sir, I think we are in a crisis. Sir, when I spoke to you back in 2021, when you came to one of our general membership meetings, I cautioned you about the staffing issues. I cited NYPD, who at the time was going through massive attrition due to resignations and retirements. I asked you at that point in time, what was your plan for our staffing crisis, or our impending staffing crisis? You said you wanted to make Anne Arundel County the best place for all, including police officers. Since then, you have worked to increase our pay and helped to extend the property tax credit for first responders. I thank you for that. But we're losing more than we can hire. And if I'm being honest, sir, Anne Arundel County is not the best place for police officers. Not when there are local, state, and federal law enforcement opportunities in this area with higher starting salaries, higher top-out pay, and benefits. Not to mention the private and other government sector jobs in this area, also with comparable pay and much less risk. I'll conclude with this. Anne Arundel County is my home, and when I hear people say Anne Arundel County is becoming the next PG County because of the crime, it hits me hard. Sir, what do you want your legacy to be? The county executive that made Anne Arundel County the best place for all, including the police officers, or the county executive that let Anne Arundel County become the next PG County? Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dwayne Rayner. I'm a board member for the Anne Arundel County Fraternal Order of Police and a lifelong resident of District 3. Mr. Pittman, in each of these town halls I've spoken at, I've asked you to step up and help our police department reverse the dangerous course that it's on. It's not a course you set, but it is one that you're sailing now. I have asked you to intervene to do something to help us navigate away from the harm that will follow us or follow as our police department's ranks become more and more depleted. We have presented you with the facts, you have met with your police department leaders, and it is indisputable that we are in trouble. I was glad to read your newsletter last week. It demonstrated clearly and convincingly that you understand the scope of the problem. In years past, you have nibbled around the edges trying to fix it, but it hasn't worked. Trust us, we are upset about this as much as you are, if not even more. Our police officers work hard, incredibly hard, and we do so in the face of incredible physical, emotional, and legal danger. We put ourselves in harm's way. This is our community too. We have a vested interest in a safe county. In life, there are things we want and there's things we need. A prosperous society requires the safety and security of its citizens. Safety is something we need. Our police department is simply not currently equipped to handle the safety and security needs of our county. For far too long, it has survived on overtime and overworking its police officers. We have reached a crisis point. It was foreseeable and it was preventable. We hope it is not irreversible. Time will tell. Our children will judge our success, our failure. Let's do everything we can to make sure that they grow up in a safe and secure community we demand in the best place for all. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Pittman and Mr. Volke. My name is George Davis. I'm a member of FOP 70. I'm also a 27-year resident of District 3. I want to thank you, Mr. Pittman. Thank you for hearing us. Your words rang through in your newsletter. I knew that you truly heard our concerns, and I know you were truly there for us. I now turn to you, Mr. Volke, and the rest of City Council. Right now, we are all stakeholders in the crisis that's unfolding in Anne Arundel County. I say to you that our police department, we are running very short. As a matter of fact, we've admitted ourselves, the rank and file. 62 of my brothers and sisters were sent back to patrol. We ripped the Band-Aid off. We looked at one another and said, tough decisions need to be made. The community comes first. They did this without complaint. They did this without that second thought. They did this with the pride they hold as police officers. Moving forward, I know you all are invested as much as we are, but we need to paint with bold, bright colors and broad strokes as we think about how to solve this problem. We invest in our children's future. We invest in our health care. We dream of what our children can accomplish if they were just given the tools. We ask you to do the same for us. Give us the tools and the salaries that we need so that we can recruit the best and the brightest coming out of our universities and schools. So we can go to the police departments that are surrounding us and turn to those Anne Arundel County residents and say, come home. Come home to your police department. Serve the community that you love. We can match what you're getting. As a matter of fact, we can make it better. We can invest all that we have in you. I grew up in a military family, and my father used to preach to us a servant's heart. Mission, people, me. Your police department, we are invested in the mission. Mr. Pittman County Council, we ask that you invest in the people, us that serve you each and every day. And together with that investment, we can serve and make a better Anne Arundel County for you and me. In closing, I'd just like to say the police department, every officer is drilled in every day. You never fight alone. Someone always has your back. We turn to you in our time of need, Mr. Pittman and County Council. We ask you to have our back. Don't let us fight alone. Give us the tools that we need. Give us the success that we need to build a better Anne Arundel County for everyone. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ian Priest, and other than military assignments, I've lived in Anne Arundel County my entire life. I've been a police officer for the past 17 years in the county and am an active member of our Fraternal Order Police. On February 5th, 2020, Detective Ballard and I were shot while attempting to apprehend a homicide suspect who had killed a man in a Glen Burnie home earlier that day. The incident resulted in me being shot in my right arm, destroying my humerus bone, and a grazing wound to my right abdomen. My vehicle had 14 bullet holes in it from 3 different shooting engagements where the suspect attempted to shoot me as I pursued him that night. 2 of these rounds went through my headrest, and many say that I'm lucky to be alive. I was hospitalized for an extended period of time and needed a year of physical therapy to learn how to use my fingers and arm again. I'm grateful the predictions that I would lose my arm did not come true, and you might think that with all the metal rods, pins, and screws in my arm that I'm better, faster, and stronger than before. But I'm not the $6 million man. I live with regular pain and scars from my injuries. I could have taken an early retirement, but I didn't. Detective Ballard and I both love our jobs, and we are both back to work full duty. I'm one of the many officers who suffered on the job injuries and fought successfully to return to work with our great police department. Our police officers give of themselves every day. We have stretched, pulled, and pushed our abilities to the limits to keep this county safe. But our staffing continues to decline, putting more and more work and responsibility on each officer who stays. At the same time, our community expects more and more from our police department. There is no doubt that Anne Arundel County deserves the best police department. Our citizens deserve to feel safe and secure, but years of underinvestment have left us in a current staffing crisis. You have heard about our agency shifting personnel back to patrol just to handle 911 calls. It is painful for our agency to do this. Just like my injuries, it will be painful for us to recuperate. It will take hard work and dedication, and it will take everyone's cooperation and collaboration. But perhaps, unlike my own body, maybe we can build our police department back up to make it better, stronger, and faster together. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Mike Shire. I sit on the Board of Directors for the Fraternal Order of Police in Anne Arundel County. Thank you, Mr. Pittman. Thank you for hosting these town halls. Thank you for hearing all of my friends that are here today and at the other events. Thank you for listening. If you didn't before, I think you might actually get it now. For those present who didn't see it, I very much urge you to read our county executive's most recent weekly letter. It was full of very difficult truths. Administration after administration downplayed, ignored, or distracted away from these truths. The largest truth, and I quote from the newsletter, we need more police officers. Too few officers means a lot of overtime for the ones we employ. We have minimum staffing levels for patrol, and when nobody's available to fill a shift, that overtime is mandatory. It happens all the time. It's exhausting for our officers and disrupting their families. That makes them more inclined to look for another line of work. Overtime is also expensive for our taxpayers. These are your words, Mr. Pittman, not mine, but I couldn't have said it better. These are hard truths. They are hardest on our police officers who serve this county day in and day out. It's undeniable that our police department is woefully understaffed. It's equally true that we have done more with less for far too long, and it's unsustainable. It's often dangerous for a politician to admit failure. It's far easier to tell people what they want to hear. But true leadership sometimes means admitting failure. True leadership means making a course correction. What we have done in the past has not worked. Our staffing crisis has intensified. We've placed ourselves in a position where we need decisive action. As you have heard for years, we've been told things have been getting better or will get better. Each administration played the same game, but the game has changed. We expect more, we demand more as a community from our police officers. The risks have gone up, the stakes have gone up. We can't delay any longer. I'll leave everyone tonight with the county executive's final thought from his letter. Whether you revere the badge or fear it, please recognize one thing. It's a hard time to be a cop, and they're not all perfect. They are human, and their job is to protect us. Ladies and gentlemen, we know that the good and honest citizens of this county respect us and love us. We strive each and every day to ensure that fear can only be found in the minds of those who would do you harm. We need the support of our citizens. We need the support of our elected officials. We need to work together to ensure that Anne Arundel County is the best place for all. Thank you.
Thank you. My next group of people are Megan Bushling, Joseph Campbell, Aaron Van Andel, Ian Marshanti, and Skip Old.
Good evening. My name is Megan Beekling, a resident of Anne Arundel County. I am a mother and a wife, and I brought my husband and children here with me tonight. I am requesting benefits, more sick time, and better pay for school health. 10-month county contractual nurses and health assistants. Since this school year alone, they have lost 117 staff out of 320 employees. That's 1/3 of staffing. That affects my children and other families when needed experienced healthcare professionals to rely on. Nurses and health assistants feel at a loss between staying on a job they love or leaving at the end of their 10-month contract. With only having a 10-month contract, it puts people out of work for the remaining 2 months with no pay. So you have people frantically looking for another source of income by the end of the school year. Bills keep coming for those 2 summer months that no one is working. The average cost of living in Anne Arundel County for rent is $2,100 to $2,400 a month and rising. That is a health assistant's whole check for a month. No extra money for bills or groceries. They are basic necessities to care for the family. Expenses keep going up, but the salaries and benefits do not reflect this. This is survival mode. It makes it hard for them to keep their heads above water. They do not get paid holidays or the 2 months in summer. This adds to their anxiety. Due to lack of benefits, retirement, and pay, other counties get those employees in school health, and Anne Arundel County bears the cost of training even more employees. Health assistants are trained to handle emergency situations, caring for the most vulnerable population, the students of AA County, and they do not, without question, and love their jobs. Health staff have to provide for their families, sometimes leaving a job they love in order to make ends meet. They are left to make a decision: stay in a job they love, or go elsewhere to keep up with the cost of living. 117 health staff made that sacrifice since the beginning of the school year. These are honest and hardworking people that want to make a difference in the world but cannot financially support their own. Please help change these odds by considering benefits, more sick time, and pay that honors these employees and their families. Thank you for your consideration, and thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak.
My name is Joe Campbell, and I wasn't expecting the presentation. I'm from District 5, and I couldn't make it to the other one. So I came here because of your newsletter where it said, do we have enough cops? I spent 25 years with the County Police Department. I started in 1969 when the starting salary for a police officer was $6,400 a year. I've watched the county grow over those years. I retired in 1994, and at that time our staffing levels for patrol were about the same as they are now. That was 29 years ago. I had a whole different chain of thought of what I was going to talk about today, because when I came on, we didn't have bulletproof vests, we didn't have walkie-talkies, we didn't have air conditioning in our cars. We had a 6-shot revolver with 18 rounds, and that was it. I've watched the county build and get so many more benefits and things over the years, and I'm really proud because being a major metropolitan area, we have probably one of the lowest homicide rates of any jurisdiction around here. Even Baltimore County is going crazy. And it's all because of those guys. And the problem is that you can't get police officers for bigger reasons than you guys can even offer. So the only thing you can do is make it worthwhile for people to be here. My son's a police officer in Washington, D.C. For 40 minutes that he drives, Their starting salary is about $4,000 more than Anne Arundel County. They're offering a $25,000 signing bonus. So the problem is, where do you get the money to boost their salaries? I think we need to look at some of the waste here. They talked about county parks and things. We have millions of dollars of maintenance materials, and yet we subcontract to people to cut our grass. So look at the officers' salaries, see if you can find some money for them, and I thank you.
Good evening. My name is Arjen van Andel. I'm the chair of the Transportation Commission for Anne Arundel County. I wanted to start by thanking you for your support to make public transportation a priority in our county. 6 years ago, public transportation was not mentioned and was only mentioned as bringing the poor guy to his job. And currently, I see public transportation as one of the 5 main priorities of the county, and I really appreciate that. I just want to make sure that in an environment where there is reduction of federal budgets and state budgets, making sure that there is still room for public transportation funding. Because transportation funding is needed to mitigate traffic congestion. We've seen high increases of vehicle miles traveled over the last few years, and we want to make sure that public transportation stays in place to make sure that there's an alternative for people to using their cars. One of the other priorities for our commission was making sure that economic development and workforce improvement is supported by public transportation. We've seen that there is about 23,000 county businesses, and one of the main reasons for people to go to their jobs and to get to our places, what are the options for public transportation? So we want to make sure that public transportation stays in place for people that need it most, can get to their jobs and can live in our county. And transportation is also needed to mitigate pollution. For example, if a single person switches his 20-mile commute to existing public transportation, it would basically reduce the emissions for 10% of a adult two-car household. I want to make sure and finalize by making sure that everybody knows that public transportation is important in our county, but we're still receiving less funding than the counties around us, such as Howard County that gets $17 million per year, Prince George's County $31 million, and Montgomery County more than $130 million. So we are grateful for your support, but we also would like to make sure that this support will continue to exist for our county. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for having, is this on? Oh, sorry. Hello, thank you for having me. My name is Ian Marchanti. I live and work here in Pasadena as a realtor, just in case we have any of those unfortunate home buyers we talked about earlier. And I also sit on the board of directors for the Public Library Foundation, which is why I'm here to talk to you guys today. As you all well know, the library staff don't just check in and out your books. In addition to all of the examples that my colleague gave earlier, they also prepare students to succeed in school. They they help families in need, and they also, sorry, threw me off a little bit. They support the community in various different ways, and they don't do any of this half-heartedly. They very intentionally and sincerely support the community every day. And yet, 80% of them are still underpaid compared to some of their counterparts in other systems. I'd also like to take the time to thank Councilman Volke and Executive Pittman for continued increases to the library's budget, including the most recent and the most historic increase to their budget. But unfortunately, without the appropriate budget in hand, we don't have what we need in order to retain these dedicated staff members or to attract new equally dedicated staff members. In fact, more recently, we just lost a manager over at Riviera Beach to another local system after sticking out lengthy renovations at the new location, after building relations with local school systems, the Pasadena Business Association, and various other ways that he was defending the a library's best interests. But unfortunately, he received a better offer. I would like to encourage you all to take seriously the library's request for an adjusted budget so that we don't lose any more dedicated staff members to other systems. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Skip Auld. I'm the CEO of Anne Arundel County Public Library. I'm here actually tonight mainly to speak to the residents of Pasadena about the Revere Beach and Mountain Road libraries. I first want to thank Councilman Volke and County Executive Pittman for their tremendous support of our libraries throughout their time in office. You have heard a lot about the tremendous salary disparities between our staff and their peers across the state, but I want to spend my time talking about these two libraries in District 3. Last year, more than 72,000 people visited the temporary Revere Beach Library next to Gersbeck's. Is that how you pronounce it? Gersbeck. Okay, thank you. And Mountain Road Library when it was at Long Point Shopping Center. We are proud in our libraries to be a lifeline, a safe space, and respite for many in the community. In July, we opened the Mountain Road Library in a new location, the highly visible Lakeshore Plaza Shopping Center next to Two Rivers Restaurant. After decades of flooding and sewer issues in the old location, we have found a new home and can be a more reliable place for residents. Residents have found us. We've reached many new customers in the new location. I want to invite everyone here tonight to stop in. Many of you have also seen the beautiful new building going up on Duval Highway across from Northeast High School. This new Revere Beach Library will be a tremendous asset to the community and a place that you'll want to visit and hang out. As you know, we've experienced significant delays on this project. I recognize the impact that this has had on you, our customers, and the residents of Pasadena. Thank you for your patience. Together with the County Department of Public Works, we're pushing hard to open this new library in late spring. It will be worth the wait. And in closing, thank you, County Executive Pittman and Councilman Volke for your support of the market rate adjustments for our staff last year. I urge you to finish the job by fully funding this year's request. Library staff are the heart and soul of our libraries, and they deserve to be paid what their peers are paid in other library systems in our region. Thank you.
The next group of folks are Brian Holtzlander, Chris Weinstein, Jessica Galvardi, and Leah Paley.
Hello, I'm Brian with Anne Arundel Professional Firefighters, and I am your neighborhood paramedic. It's been my privilege to serve the District 5 community for a number of years now, and it's great to see the school nurses. I've been in, no, for real, been in every school in this area for an emergency or another, and they are always doing a great job for the little ones, and it's always great to see them. The truth is if you have an emergency, you might see me too, and that's not necessarily a great thing, and that's because I operate essentially the only advanced life support ambulance from Greenhaven to the tip of Gibson Island, and that is not enough. And one of the reasons of that is we cannot hire paramedics. As you may have heard, our hospital system is in ruins. ER wait times are through the roof. Our ambulances are deadlocked for hours and hours at a time. We are at a relentless pace to meet the need of an ever-increasing amount of calls, meeting mental health and everything that has been part of the last couple years. Our paramedics are burning out and they're breaking down, and we can't hire new ones because no one wants to do this job. And anyone who knows anyone in healthcare probably has a similar story. We've done everything that we can, including moving paramedic applicants to the very top of our hiring list. I think we've gotten 2 in the last couple years. They're just not there. People don't want to be a paramedic in this county with what we offer. So it's really time to think outside the box. We need to do everything we can to retain and attract paramedics. And what we're doing is not working. We're on a cliff. And if we don't change, we will fail. And if we fail, citizens will be in peril. They will not get the ambulance that they need when they need it with the advanced life support training to save their life. So we need to do bold things now to to keep people safe, and we look forward to working with you.
Good evening. My name is Chris Weinstein. I'm the president of Friends of Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control, a nonprofit created and run by shelter volunteers. Last year alone, we spent $140,000 to help improve and save the lives of homeless animals in the shelter's care. It was only after I became deeply involved in our nonprofit that I realized that although Robin Catlett is the very excellent and accomplished longtime administrator of Animal Care and Control, she is not anywhere near its final decision maker, sometimes even for very minor issues. She reports to a police department captain and a police major, and they then report to their superiors within the police department. Overseeing animal care and control is only a small aspect of all these police officers' jobs. They all may like animals and perhaps even have pets of their own, but none have backgrounds in animal welfare or, I highly suspect, a burning interest to become experts in the detail of properly budgeting for and operating a public animal shelter. This is doubly true at a time when, as the FOP has been testifying at all of these budget hearings, the police department has its own serious budget-related issues to contend with. During a budget town meeting last week, Mr. Pittman noted that despite the many improvements made in recent years, staffing shortages continue at the shelter and that we can do better for our animals. As importantly, he also acknowledged the ongoing debate over where to best place animal care and control in the county's organizational structure and the need to complete a big picture review of how to best manage its overall operation. We agree with him and hope both issues can be resolved this coming year. If our Friends group can help, please let us know. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Gallawardi, and I'm a District 3 resident who volunteers at Anne Arundel County Animal Care and Control. Our long-term budget goal is a new shelter for the county's homeless pets, perhaps at the Crownsville Hospital site. Of course, we don't expect such an ambitious goal to be funded overnight, but we do ask that the county start the multi-year process of planning for a new one. Our current shelter is outmodeled, and now its grounds are about to be badly squeezed by construction of a $40 million, 55,000 square foot police forensics building between the shelter and the fire department's headquarters. In the shorter term, staffing continues to be an issue. We appreciate the positions you have had, in particular, the shelter's first ever veterinarian. When she started a year ago, the shelter's clinic had only a little bit of very outmodeled equipment. Knowing how long county equipment purchases can take, the nonprofit created by volunteers stepped up and spent tens of thousands of dollars on testing and surgical equipment so that her clinic could get up and running quickly. It also purchased additional equipment with the goal of being able to restart using state grant funds to spay and neuter the pets of our county's low-income residents. Something the shelter unfortunately has lacked the capacity to do for quite a while. However, this will require hiring a certified veterinary technician to assist in these surgeries. Please budget for one. Another shelter employee's job title is, wait for it, volunteer/foster/rescue/special events coordinator. If that sounds like a lot of hats to wear, that's because it is. Other shelters our size have 3 or more people doing what this one person does. She does a phenomenal job, but please divide her job into 2 or more positions. Animal Care and Control also has asked since 2015 for more office support staff, but has yet to receive funding for even one additional clerical position. Your support for these additional positions and for our ultimate goal of a new shelter would be deeply appreciated. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Leah Paley. I'm the CEO of the Anne Arundel County Food Bank. Thank you for the opportunity to provide input about the budget. I'm here to strongly urge the county to include $1.5 million in the FY25 budget to support the work of our organization. We've been around since 1986, providing critical services like food and basic essentials to members of our community. We're so very grateful to the county for your strong support over the years, which has amounted to over $5 million just in the last 5 years alone through ARPA funding. And that funding has allowed us to meet such a critical demand for our services, which remains alarmingly high. I know Ms. Ashworth was up here earlier and spoke very passionately about the work of her group and the pantry that she supports and the work that they're doing. And that is happening across the county where we're seeing that level of need. Right here in District 3, we have 9 sites distributing food. We've provided over 17,000 instances of service just last year. In addition to being a resource for supplemental food, the food bank is much more. We're also innovative problem solvers. We launched our mobile pantry back in the fall, and we've been in multiple locations where transportation is a huge issue and there's not enough food support, bringing support directly to our community members. We are also powerful advocates, serving on the Food Council with some people here this evening in order to advocate for systems level change. In addition, we're an educational resource for residents concerned about food justice in our county, and an engaged partner with many nonprofits, some of whom are here this evening working to address poverty. Without funding, we may be forced to slash our budget for food or else have to start charging our network partners, which we don't want to do. So thank you for your consideration. And again, I strongly encourage you to include $1.5 million in the budget for the food bank. Thank you.
So now we will open the floor for anyone who has not yet spoken. If you would like to present your budget request, please line up behind the microphone now.
My name is Philip Miller. I'm with the Anne Arundel County Professional Firefighters, Local 1563. Thank you for having another town hall meeting. Unfortunately, it seems like Groundhog Day. Everybody's asking for staffing and funding, but yet we're still the lower half of taxes. Nobody's saying don't raise taxes. Everybody's saying how bad we need people and funding. What is it going to take? Our members being held over for 24 hours after they've already been in the station for 24 hours. Public safety needs help. It's going to take a line of duty death for a firefighter, or God forbid a police officer, for you all to wake up, raise taxes, and pay and add staffing to schools and public safety. This is the second time in 2 years we're seeing the same thing. You've done a little bit, but we're still in the lower half. Do something more, put more police on the street, put more fire department on the street, and let's protect our citizens like they're asking you. Thank you.
Good evening, County Executive Pittman and Councilman Volke. My name's Adam Palinkas. I'm a Pasadena resident, and I'm here tonight representing the Anne Arundel County Professional Firefighters. I'm here to talk about the lack of staffing in our fire department. This county had it right back in the 70s and 80s when fire apparatus was staffed with four personnel. Somehow, staffing went down on our apparatus. Up till just a few years ago, many of the apparatus in this county would go out the door with a staffing of 2, when the national standards calls for 4. This county has worked to correct that, and we are on the verge of having all apparatus go out the door with 3 personnel. But there's still a long way to go to fix what our staffing should be. One of the ways the county has addressed the short staffing on the apparatus was to cut 3 apparatus. They took these personnel and added them to other apparatus. This happened back in 2010 to 2015. That's 3 less fire engines and ladder trucks that are on the streets running calls today. And as our call volume has gone up substantially, we have less apparatus on the street every day. And while there's more personnel on the apparatus and the jobs are getting done, there's still less apparatus to run the calls. The county needs to increase its staffing to 4 personnel in all fire apparatus and to add additional apparatus to properly provide the services to the citizens of Anne Arundel County. When you look at our neighboring jurisdictions, Baltimore County, Baltimore City, Howard County, Prince George's County, Montgomery County, and even Frederick County, They all have better staffing than us. Up till a couple years ago, Frederick County didn't have many of its fire stations staffed, but their county recognized the needs of the citizens, and they corrected that. They currently have 3 personnel in all fire apparatus, and over the next 3 years, they're going to correct that with 4. Frederick County has surpassed our county with staffing. This county, the fire department, was started in 1965. We're about to hit our 60th anniversary as a fire department. We need to correct our staffing, and we need to figure out a way to do it, and in a rapid fashion. Please address our staffing issues and make the citizens of Anne Arundel County safer, along with our firefighters. Thank you for your time.
So I want to thank everyone for the great dialogue tonight and also for keeping your time as well. That was great. So let's give ourselves a round of applause for that. If you have any additional budget comments to share, please email them to budget-comments@aacounty.org. Now I'm going to turn it back over to our elected officials for closing remarks, and we are going to begin with Councilmember Vokey.
So in years past, the county exec and I sort of go down the list and we recite all the things that people said so that we can tell you that we're listening. But I promise you, we were listening. I've got it taken down. I'll just say this for myself. I don't know about the county exec, but this is my 5th year. No, 6th year? 5th year? 5th year.
6th budget.
6th budget, yeah. I find they get harder, right? I find it gets harder as you go through this year after year. I feel like in the beginning, you get elected to office and you think you have all the answers, right? You're like, whoa, I mean, the people elected me. They put me in this position. Of course I got to know what I'm doing. And the longer you do it, the more you realize just what a balancing act all of this is. I hear everybody tonight and I hear people talking about more funding. And I'm not disputing with you that maybe we do need more funding. But I would also challenge that I don't think everyone here is the only representation of the community. I hear from constituents regularly who ask me to do things about their tax burden. They're not here tonight. They're not standing up at the microphone, but I hear from them. They send me emails whenever a bill comes in. I hear from it with people who are in public safety who ask us to give a tax credit as a recruiting incentive and to help lower the tax burden, which I fully support. So I just say to you, this is a piece of the puzzle, and I find that these budget town halls are extremely helpful because many times we learn things we didn't know. I keep hearing from school health, and thank you guys for coming out in force again. Here you are another year, thank you. To our police officers, thank you guys for taking time out. You all have probably worked long shifts, and now you're coming out here, and you're spending time to tell us for another budget town hall what you need. Thank you. To our firefighters, same thing, being held over, and then coming out here and taking your own time to sit here and talk to us. And then to animal care and control, and I'm sort of just picking the big interest groups that I see, but thank you guys for what you're doing. Ultimately, the budget, as you have seen year over year, has incrementally, I think, gotten better. If you look at where we started, and I think the county executive can talk about this, there have been changes. Do we need to do more? Unquestionably. Unquestionably. And we're hearing that from the police and the firefighters and so many others. But I just find that the decisions every year get tougher and tougher, especially as you know the people more and more, and you know the sacrifice that they're putting in as county workers. One of the most eye-opening things for me early on as a county councilman was to learn probably 80% of our budget is people, right? That's a huge chunk of what we do, and what we provide to the citizens is people and staffing. And so when we talk about budgets, and the county execs talked about this many times, we talk about priorities and we talk about what matters, but the people who we are paying to provide services to the other people in the county, it's huge. And it's important to make sure that we're trying to find ways to keep you incentivized and to keep you engaged and to keep you wanting to serve our citizens. So with all that said, I know there's a lot of hard decisions ahead. The amount of money coming in is what it is. You've seen what Mr. Trumbauer showed and what the county executive showed. As Mr. Miller pointed out, there is a way to get more, and that is to increase revenue. That has happened a few times in the last few years, so I don't think that option is something that has not been explored by this administration. And everybody knows I've been pretty reticent to do that because I hear from a lot of people who feel on the opposite end. But I will tell you, I think things are incrementally getting better, and I think the county executive will probably talk to that more, and we have a lot more work to do. So I look forward to working with him and all of you, and I sincerely thank all of our county employees for their service. There are many of them who are here, I'm looking at some of them right now, who didn't come up and speak, but you are truly the heroes in Anne Arundel County, all of you, so thank you.
So, yeah, my staff doesn't like it when I get up here and give you little hints about what we might do or might not do. So I'll try not to do that. Right. But I do want to say something about this whole revenue question, and I'll be perfectly honest. I've asked all 7 council members how they feel about this year and tax increases, revenue increases in particular. And I'll tell you that all 7 of them said, yeah, we'd like to not do it. And I'd like to not do it as well. But I can also tell you that the messages that we're hearing are very compelling. And I will be going back to them again and saying, now that you've heard from 7 budget town halls, are you really sure? I'm open to it. I mean, one of the great things about being in my position is I don't have to worry about getting reelected. I'm term limited. That shouldn't matter. We did some tax increases when I did have to get reelected, and I'm still standing. But it's always hard, and there are a lot of different ways to do it, and there are also ways to cut some of the things that we have. I mean, I can tell you that I am very moved by everybody who works for the county who got up here and told a true story. Nobody was BSing us about the impact on them, whether it is being short-staffed or whether it is being underpaid. Underpaid, I'm particularly talking to the folks in the back, school health. I think I did a little bit of math, and if you really do a child every 7 minutes, which just kind of dropped my jaw, then we're paying you for each child, if you're getting paid $20 an hour, which you're saying you're paid a little less than that, $2.35 per child. And when those children go to a doctor, just think how much per hour, I mean, per visit. It's a heck of a deal. I want to say a few things, though, about some of the specific items. If you haven't been to the Annapolis Symphony at Downs Park, right here in the district, go on out. They used to do them only at Quiet Waters, these outdoor concerts, and now you guys have this amazing facility, and go listen. It's really a fun day. I'm glad the community college was brought up. The governor's budget is proposing some cuts to community college, and we're gonna push back on some of that. And we always want the state to pay as much as possible, but that's going to create a burden, and we're going to have to address that. I'm glad housing was brought up. You brought up you talked mostly about ADUs last time, and I got a report today. Thank you from Inspections and Permits, Mark, on the first year of having accessory dwelling units allowable in Anne Arundel County, where you can do something in your house or next to your house that somebody can actually live in, increase the housing stock without a lot of disruption to communities. And from May, when the bill took effect, to December, only 11 permits have been requested. So we're looking at ways of incentivizing that, maybe pre-approving some of those. I think it's a great way to do housing, affordable housing. The library folks at every budget town hall, we hear you. That's all I can say. And also to say, it's going to be great finally when Rivera Beach Library opens. It is amazing what our libraries do, all the services they provide. It's not your grandmother's library or your grandfather's library or even our library when we were young. It's a lot more than books. Jumpers Hole Road, great example of community organizing, getting the councilman out and me out, taking a look at a road that was not on the list for a capital project that now is a capital project. It's in design. That we know that these things take a while, but we will get that done as quickly as we can because it's an important project. Thank you for our educators who are here. I mean, I always say that education is sort of number one in my book. With public safety that government was invented to do, education is what sort of defines our future. Bocce courts, man, I didn't even know there was such a thing. But don't you play bocce on grass or you play it on a court? Does anybody even know? They play it On turf. Okay, okay, well, that should be possible, shouldn't it? You know, we'll figure that, right? Let's see, the food bank, one of those things that has been funded with the federal money, and that's ending, but the food distribution system that was created during the pandemic is meeting a need that has not gone away. And the math just doesn't work for a lot of families every month. And when food is provided, and when folks can get the food, it allows the rent to be paid or something else to be paid. So we're going to do everything we can there. Public transportation, I'm glad it was brought up. Animal care and control, we've talked, we'll keep talking, and there will be a lot to talk about in the coming year because there will be some changes. I will say that the police department, as much as they love you, they don't really want you within the police department either. But there are parts of what you do that might need to be there, but there may be division of labor there, and a proposal that I think will benefit everybody, and most importantly, the animals. You know, for the police officers who are here, you have made me uncomfortable. You've made me a little uncomfortable tonight, some of you. Some of you are a little kinder tonight. Everything I said in that weekly letter, I mean, and I can tell you that there have been a lot of conversations and a lot of number crunching and a lot of work going on, trying to figure out how to increase the number of officers coming in. You know, we were filling those academy classes early on, and we're not now, and that has to get fixed. And our firefighters don't like to be left out of the conversation, and shouldn't be, because they are saving lives every single day, and the work that they do is equally dangerous and important. And so fortunately, our last academy class for fire was well attended with over 60. We got to keep that. We got to keep that going and keep that momentum up. Really, just thank you all for sharing your priorities and sharing them with each other. I know that a lot of you, it's pretty good entertainment, these things, isn't it? Hearing from your neighbors what they're, and thank you for the staff for being here and taking all this time. So we'll see you at the next one if you're a frequent flyer. Otherwise, we'll work on what we've got here in District 3. Thanks.